Hi everyone and welcome back to our Gamepad Widget UMG series. In this series we're talking about how we get a player menu and inventory system working with a gamepad inputs. So we're currently doing it with gamepad and keyboard, so both inputs will work just fine. And currently we've got a setup where we put tab, we've got the various sections of the player's menu which are controlled by keyboard and as gamepad using the shoulder buttons. Now we're going to start work on these inner widgets, so the character menu and the inventory menu, quests and map. So in this episode we're going to go over the character menu. So each of these menus will have slightly different layouts, and I want to use these as a chance to showcase what kind of setup you can do with gamepad inputs. So the character sheet is going to be quite simple. It's just going to be where the player's level is, skill points they have left to spend, and the various places where they can assign those skill points. Okay, so let's get started on designing this character menu. So I'm going to open up my character submenu here, and we're going to make a start on this. So I can delete this one here, and what I want to do is I want to set up a vertical box, and inside this vertical box we're going to have several elements. We're going to have some text, and this text is going to display the amount of, the level of the player. So I can go level, and then this will remain blank after the fact. Okay, so to indicate that, I'm just going to put in the 2 pound signs or 2 hash keys to indicate the level number would go there. Next, I'm going to put in a skill button. So I'm going to create a button, and in this button we're going to have a variety of things. We're going to have a horizontal box, because the button acts like a panel as well, so you can add things to it and stack things inside of it. So this button here will have a horizontal box inside of it. Inside the horizontal box we can have an image, and then we can have some text, and that text will display the skill, and the image will be like an icon for the skill. So let's say, for example, this first skill here is going to be called strength. Okay, and the image, we haven't got an image yet, but we'll put one in at another time. Now I may want to make this a certain height and width. I can use a size box for that, or I can play around with my padding here to increase that that distance. So I'm going to do just the padding here. I'm going to give it a padding of 10, and see how that looks. Maybe a bit more. Let's go for 40. There we go. So now we've got 40 padding in the top and bottom, as well as left and right. So to make it stretch the whole way across, because I want it to fill the whole entire button, I'm going to tell it to horizontal alignment here to be fully on the horizontal, and I'm going to keep it in the center vertically though. The image, we're going to make it fit a certain size at a certain point, but we'll do that once we've got the image to actually load up. So this button here, I'm going to give it some sort of style to it. I'm not going to have a basic button lookout. So background color, we're going to just knock it down to 0. And we are then going to add a border inside of this thing. So I'm going to right click on my horizontal box and wrap with a border. And that border is all white to start off with. So I'm just going to change my brush color here to this grey. Now because this grey is also the grey that's on the background of this, they'll overlap and this one will become darker. So it should stand out. I'm going to hit OK. And I'm going to duplicate this button numerous times. So let's just name this button first of all. Skill _ strength. And we're going to duplicate that with Control W once and twice. So my second one, I'm going to have a skill called Arcane. So the player's magic skill. And the third one, we'll call this one, let's go for stamina. It's all like defense or something. It doesn't really matter. You can do whatever you like here. So I'm just going to call this one stamina, like so. Okay, so let's just fix a few things here. So I want my level to be a bit bigger, so I'm going to change the font here to, let's double that to 48. That's good. And everything else I think looks fine. Underneath that we may put a text block as well, indicating how many skill points we have left to spend. So you can either do that here or at the top here. I'm going to put it at the bottom. So I drag it into my vertical box. And this is going to be available skill points. And I'm going to have that in the center. And justified in center. The padding for this on the top is going to be 40. And I'm going to add another text block underneath that. And that's going to again in the center. But it's going to be the number of points. So I'm just again put 2 pound signs or 2 hash keys, whatever you want to call them. And make this nice and big as well. So I've got available skill points to spend, and that number would change based on what I'm doing. I'm not going to do a full skill, how to implement this and get it working in game, like an actual skill system. We're just looking at how to navigate a menu. Okay, so we're not too fussed about hooking these up with a variety of variables and so forth. Maybe another time in the future we'll return to this and show you how to set up this to be linked to the player character, but we're not going to worry about that too much for today. So I want to give a little bit of padding between these buttons. So my skill strength here, I've got my padding here, and give it a padding of 20. Actually, let's give it just 20 in the top and bottom. 20 at least in the top. Let's do 20 in the top. And this one. There you go. So you get a nice padding between each one. Okay. So these are buttons. Okay. So when the player can click on them and it'll do something. Okay. So for example, I'm just going to put in a text inside of here. So this horizontal box currently has an image and text inside of it. I'm going to drag another text block in it. And this one is going to be aligned in center. And this will be a number. Okay. So that'll be just the number of skill points I've assigned to, in this case, strength. And let's do that for the other ones. Another text block into my horizontal box. And we're going to, wrong one. Here, center it in the vertical. Pound signs. And I may actually right to the right. We go fill and align it to the right. I think that'll look a bit better. Yeah. So let's do that on the strength. Fill there. And I'm just gonna get a bit padding to the right as well. 10, let's say. This is all just cosmetic stuff. You can do whatever you like for this. Text in there. The vertical, fill to the right. And 10 padding in the right. And again, this will be a number. Okay, so I just wanted to set up some basic code here so that when I click on these buttons, these numbers will change. Okay, so I'm just going to go into start that off. Let's go into my graph and set up a few variables here. So the first variable I'm going to add is the skill for strength, and this will be a integer. And you want to do this for the others as well. So you want to do you can copy and paste that one, be fine. Duplicate it rather. Skill arcane. Skill stamina. With those 3 skills, and then we click compile, and I can go in and I can set some default values for these. So I'm going to set these default to 5 for each of them. So strength, arcane, and stamina. All start with 5 skill points. And then I want to make the buttons do stuff. So to do that, we need to set up what is going to be changing in this scene. So I'm going to click on this text value for my strength, and I'm going to change the is variable tick box up here to true. And just for the sake of me and my sanity, I'm going to change the name of this to strength skill text, and I'm going to do that for the other ones as well. So just name them something a bit more appropriate so it's easy to find them. So arcane skill text, and tick the as variable. And finally on the stamina, we're going to name it stamina skill text, and tick the is variable box. Other things we have available to change is the available skill points. So I'm going to click on there, and I'm going to change this to skill points text, and tick is variable. And level up here, I'm going to go level text, and tick is variable as well. So you want to make sure that all the things that you want variable are made variable. That way, when you go into the graph, you'll find them all listed here. Okay, so now you need to set up the buttons to change value. So I'm going to go on my strength button here. Make sure you've got the button bit selected. So skill strength button here is selected. I'm going to scroll down and find the events for on clicked. I'm going to click on this button here, and so this event will pop up. So when I click on this, I'm going to check how much available skill points I have. So let's add a new variable for this. Available skill points, and that'll be an integer. For testing purposes, I'm going to change that to 3. I'll click compile. So all my available skill points, I'm going to drag this out and choose get, and I'm going to check if I actually have any to spend. So I'm going to check if it's greater than 0. Just go into a branch to check if it's true or false. And if it's true, when I click on it, I want it to change the skill strength value here. So I'm going to change that and say set skill. And the skill strength will be skill strength get add 1. So now skill strength will increase by 1. Now this will change the underlying value, but not the text. So once we do that, we need to tell the text to update. So I'm going to drag my strength skill text out, choose get, and then from there I'm going to set text, and we're just going to simply just drag the green pin into the pink pin, and it'll convert it to a text for you. Now you want to do this for the other 3. So to recap, let's do that. I'm going to go into Arcane, click on the button, go into the event on clicked, and I'm going to copy and paste this first bit because that's the same. And the rest of it is pretty much the same, it's just a different value. So get there, set, add 1 to it, and then get arcane skill text, set text, plug that in to get the conversion happening. Okay, so 1 more to go. Let's go find the last one, skill stamina. Unclicked. Again, copy this. And then we're going to skill stamina, get, set, add 1 to it, get the stamina skill text, set text, and plug that in like so. Now if you're doing an actual skill system, you'd also tack onto the end here of it changing on setting the skill value to the actual player character, so that the player character can use the skill assigned to it. But we're not going to do that in this series. That's going to be another series in the future. Just want to work on the UI side of things, and I want to do this so I can see it working. So these 3 buttons will now update and change things as they are created. So next I want to change is the level. So I'm going to go to my graph, make a new variable for current level, and compile it and set its default value to 10. Okay, so player starts at level 10, whatever you want to do. And what we can do here is on the event construct, we are going to tell it to set the level text. So get level text, set text. Now, rather than just dragging the integer in, because this is just a bit of text first, then the number, we're going to do a format text. And we'll type in the word level, open curly bracket, and I'll put in num, and then close curly bracket, hit enter, and now you can insert a parameter into this text field. So now I can put in our current level, which again would come from the player character if you have a player character set up. And so when this thing is made, it will set that level currently. We're also going to make it set the skill points text as well. So I'm going to get that, set text. Now this one is just a number, so I can click on the available skill points and drag that in with a get and plug that in. Okay. Righto, so that's that set up. Next we need to do is make it so that when we click on these buttons, they not only add a skill point to the relevant skill, but also takes one away from the available skill points and updates that. Now for that, because they're going to be doing the same thing on each one of these, I'm actually going to go and create a function for this. So whenever you're repeating some code, you may as well apply it as a function. So I'm going to call it spend skill point. And we're just going to drag out available skill points, get minus minus, so I'm going to do decrement. And then we're going to grab the skill point text, get set text. So exactly the same as all the other stuff. There, and plug that in like so. Compile. So now if I go to my event graph, on each end of these buttons, I can drag that function out onto the end. And that should update the UI with the new numbers. Okay, so let's get this playing and see what that looks like. So there is our screen setup, and I can see already I haven't told it to generate these, but these ones are working. So if I click on this, you can see they work. I can't click on it anymore to add any more to it. So let's get it set up so they show from the start, and that'll be on the begin play. So just drag each one of those out. So we're going to do strength first, get set text, and strength is going to be this one. And we'll do it for arcane. And finally, stamina. Like so. So with keyboard controls, this will work no problem. You can see it working. Okay. I'm just gonna make this a bit darker so it makes it a bit easier to see. Oh, wrong one. So go in there, change the border, brush color. I'm trying it a little bit darker. Drag it up there. That way I can make them all the same. That looks better. That should give us a nice bit of contrast. There we go. So here we have our skill points. You can see I've got level 10, 5 points in each, and I can add them with the keyboard and mouse. So the mouse works just fine. So how do we actually get this working in regards to the controller? Well, let's have a look at how we accomplish that. To add the gamepad support, we need to first of all go into the player menu UI. And this is the thing that has got the widget switcher in it. And what we want to do is make it so that when it increments and decrements a page, it sets the focus to whatever the content is of the widget switcher. So I'm going to go into increment page and drag my widget switcher out, choose get. And then from there, I'm going to get child at. And the index for this is going to be our page index. So this will receive the current widget that we're looking at. The return value for this will come out and will be set focus. And you want to use the set keyboard focus. Plug that in like so. Now we want to copy all of those four and put them into decrement as well. When you've done that, we're going to go into the event graph and we're also going to add it to the construct. However, before we do connect these two up, we're going to put a slight delay in between them. The reason why we want delay is that it sometimes needs a bit more time to be proper initialized before it does this, okay? Otherwise this doesn't work. So this little delay will allow it to catch up and add these bits into it. But the player shouldn't really notice that much. So when I push play, I've now got focus set to our widgets here. But at the moment they don't do anything, okay? We need to set it to react based on that widget. Because at the moment the whole thing is getting that that focus. So let's go into player menu, character UI, and into the graph. On the graph, we're going to insert a tick event. Now on tick, we're going to do a check. And the check is for if we have keyboard focus. So I'm going to do keyboard focus and look for has keyboard focus. This will go into a branch, but it's a boolean, and we're going to test whether it's true or false. If it is true, i.e. it has focus, we're going to tell the widget here to switch its focus over to one of the buttons. Because at the moment, when you take it to focus on a widget, it's focusing on the whole entire thing, which is not what you want. You want to focus on individual components of it, inside of it. So in my graph here, I'm going to go and drag in my button for my skill points strength, get, and from there set focus, set keyboard focus. So if it's true, it will set the focus to the skill strength. Hit compile, and let's have a look at how this works. Pick up my gamepad, push start, and I can move up and down on my stick, and you can see I can add skill points to these buttons. Okay, and you may see there's a slight dotted line around it. That dotted line is by default the way of showing the focus. However, it's not very attractive, and you may want to swap it out for something else. So let's go and do that as our last task here. Notice, by the way, that if I was to push up on the strength, it would go up to the character. We'll fix that as well in a second. And if I go down to stamina and push down, it doesn't go back to strength. So we're going to make these cycle round in a moment. Okay, so let's get the selection working. So to get rid of the dotted line, you need to go to Edit, Project Settings, and just search for Render. And in here, you'll find Render Focus Rule. And we're going to change that to Never. That way, we don't see that dotted line. But to be able to see what you want to do, we're going to go into here, into my graph. And on this tick event, we've got has keyboard focus. Okay, so for each item, we want to check what one has the focus and change its various background colors and so forth. So by default, we set the skill strength to be the focus, but then we want to check which one is focusable. Okay, so we want to add each of these buttons to the screen. To our graph, sorry, not skill stamina, no skill stamina, still arcane, skill strength, yeah. And these are going to an array. So we go make array. I'm actually going to make this into the construct event, which is up here. And I'm just going to promote this array to a variable. This is going to be called a button array. Okay, so on the tick event, we're going to drag that button array out, and we're going to do a for each loop. So it's going to go for each one and check whether or not it has focus. And we'll see it has keyboard focus. This will return true or false. If it's true, it will do one thing. If it's false, it will do another. So let's put that into a branch. Body. And if it's true, we're going to tell the array element here to change its color. Okay, so it's a button object. So we can go in here, and we want to actually get hold of its border. No, just do background color. Let's see how that looks. Keep it simple. And copy that down here. So if it's true, I'm going to change the background color here to green. And alpha is 1. Okay. If it's false, I'm going to go into background color and set alpha to 0. Okay. So if I click compile and push play. Oh. What have I missed out? Oh, forgot to connect this up. There we go. Hit compile, now push play. And you can see here I've got it hovered, and if I move the stick down, helps if I clicked on the thing. So one slight error, we need to go onto our tick. Now the reason why it weren't working just there was because the this tick event's only happening once. Because the has keyboard focus is applying to the whole widget, the whole thing, it's only going to be true once before we change the focus. Therefore, this will never actually run after the first time. So we need to set up a sequence here on our tick. So on then 0, it will do this, and on then 1, we want it to do the for each loop. So I'm going to just disconnect that from there. I'm going to move all that down like so, and hook that up. So now, when the first time it detects it as a focus, it will reapply that to the button, and once it's done that, it will then change the color of the background for each button as it is selected. So let's go into that, push play, push start, and I can now move that back and forth. Okay, but as I said, if I push up on strength, it'll go off. And if I go down from summoner, it won't go back round to strength, so it's not going to cycle between them all. So we need to change the way this is working. Now the reason why it works kind of at the moment, it's half there with the up and down movement, is because it's in a vertical panel. Most panels will allow this sort of navigation, where it's default built into it. But there may be some custom things you might want to do to it, such as the strength here. We want it to cycle back down to stamina. So let's have a look at how you accomplish that. On our character sheet, we're going to click on the strength button. So when this thing has focus, we're going to scroll down, and we're going to make sure that we have the navigation up here, left, right, up, down, next, and so forth is available to us. So when we push up on this, we want to change what it does. So click on here, and we're going to do custom, or no, explicit, sorry. Choose explicit, and then choose where it should go after that. I want mine to go to the stamina, skill stamina. So go skill stamina. And likewise for stamina, if I push down on this, I want to be explicit and tell it to go to skill strength. Hit compile now, and let's go back to our game. So now if I push up on the strength, it will go to stamina. And I've got this loop going on. Likewise, if I go down from stamina, it will loop back round to strength. Left and right won't do nothing because we're inside a vertical box, therefore there's only vertical movement. But now we're locked in. If I go to other panels, I can go back to character and continue where I left off. Like so. And that's kind of it. Okay, so we covered quite a lot there. There's only one thing I want to make sure that I show you, and that is sometimes whatever you want to be focusable on, you need to make sure that it can be focused on. So the first thing we'll do is click on the player menu character UI at the top, this root here, and we'll make sure the is focusable button is ticked. Okay, that allows the game to set it as a focus point. Likewise for the buttons, you want to make sure they're focusable as well. If it's not set to be true and focusable, therefore it will never be focused on. So make sure that is the case for whatever's appropriate. And that's it. So in the next part, we're going to go into doing the inventory. Now the inventory is going to be a grid setup, so similar to the character, but rather than just up and down, it's also going to deal with left and right as well. So join us next time in that episode, where we can find that on patreon.com/RyanLally before anyone else. Big shout out and thank you to all my patrons for their support so far, and I wouldn't be doing this without you guys, so thank you so much for your support. If you have any requests or questions, please leave a comment below, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe and that little notification bell to make sure you're aware for the next part when it does come out publicly on YouTube. Thanks again everyone, and I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.